Central thesis. In the Bahrain tests, Lewis Hamilton not only adapted to the SF26, he discovered that Ferrari has built a car with a structural advantage that could change the competitive order of 2025. What if I told you that in just 2 days of testing, Lewis Hamilton has found something in the SF26 that not even Ferrari expected to see so soon? Because this isn't about a flashy fast lap. It's about something much more dangerous. It's about consistency. It is about controlled degradation. It has an efficiency in traction that in Bahrain, one of the most demanding circuits for the rear axle, simply should not appear so early in a new car. The first day he already left signs. The second confirmed that it was not a coincidence. And when official data began to circulate in the paddock, the message was clear. The SF26 has a performance window that, when activated, turns Ferrari into something much more serious than many imagined. And the most disturbing thing for the rest is that Hamilton already knows how to open that window. The first day of testing in Bahrain was not designed to impress anyone. Ferrari arrived with a very clear plan. Understand the basic behavior of the SF26 without artifice, without looking for easy headlines, without showing cards ahead of time. The approach was methodical. Variable fuel loads, work on hybrid maps, and a constant reading of how the car reacted in real track conditions. It was not a day to attack the stopwatch, it was a day to listen to the car. From the first long runs, something began to attract attention inside the garage. The SF26 did not show that nervous sensitivity typical of a newborn car. There were no violent peaks of oversteer on slow corner exit, nor abrupt load losses when the wind changed direction slightly. The car seemed settled on the platform, stable under braking and progressive in power delivery. And that, in Bahrain, where traction is critical and the asphalt punishes the rear axle, is not a minor detail. Hamilton started the day in observation mode. I wasn't pushing the limit. I was understanding the philosophy of the car. The interesting thing is that, as the stints progressed, he began to adjust his style towards a more fluid driving in the mid-corner phase, looking for a clean rotation before returning to the accelerator. And here the first indication of the hidden advantage appears. The SF26 allowed the gas to be opened earlier without triggering wear or generating excessive slip peaks. The traction was progressive, almost linear. In longer simulations, degradation did not spike as it usually does at this early stage of development. Lap times didn't plummet after 5 or 6 fast laps. They remained within a stable range. That forced the team to internally recalibrate their own expectations, because the records were slightly above what they had projected in simulation. But the truly important thing about the first day was not the figure on the timetable. It was the consistency. The SF26 did not depend on an isolated magical turn. It showed a smooth, sustained performance curve, without dramatic ups and downs. The combination between mechanical platform and energy management began to draw a clear pattern. This car, when it enters its correct window, does not need to exaggerate anything to be fast. At the end of day 1, Ferrari did not celebrate anything publicly. But the internal message was evident. The car was not only competitive, it was predictable. And in Formula 1, a predictable car is an exploitable car. If the first day was one of validation, the second day in Bahrain was one of discovery. This is where the narrative completely changes. Because it was no longer just about stability or good feelings, but about numbers that were beginning to make the rest of the paddock uncomfortable. Ferrari decided to expand the range of tests and subject the SF26 to more demanding conditions. Longer runs, simulations with higher fuel loads, and more in-depth work on energy management. And it was in that context where what we can call the hidden advantage appeared. In long simulations, the car not only kept pace, it held it surprisingly smoothly. Degradation was still under control, but what was most relevant was the way the SF26 exited slow corners. On a circuit like Bahrain, where traction in corners like 8, 10 or 14 makes clear differences, Hamilton began to open the throttle earlier than on day 1, and the car simply responded. There was no whiplash, no constant micro-corrections in the steering wheel, no need to overprotect the rear tire. Power delivery was progressive, almost like a continuous straight slope, not like a sudden peak dependent on electrical deployment. That suggests something much deeper than just an aggressive map. It talks about structural efficiency, how aerodynamics and the mechanical platform work together to convert load into clean traction. And that's what started to worry. Hamilton, for his part, took another step in his adaptation. If the first day was about exploration, the second was about exploitation. He further adjusted his technique in the entry and rotation phase, approaching a higher minimum cornering speed and trusting that the rear axle would not betray him when returning to the accelerator. That trust is key, Because when a driver begins to anticipate the car's response instead of reacting to it, performance increases exponentially. The official data published reinforced this feeling. It wasn't just visual perception or garage feedback. The figures showed consistency, efficiency, and more stable energy management than expected for this stage. And that forces rivals to do something very uncomfortable: recalibrate their own benchmarks. But here is the most important point of the second day. There is no visible magic element. It is not a strange spoiler or a radical solution at first glance. It is the sum of small details: a more stable platform, finer balance control, optimized hybrid maps, and a wider operating window. When all that lines up, the SF26 becomes a car that doesn't need to push to be fast. And the most disturbing thing for the rest is that Hamilton has already shown that he can enter that window in just 2 days. After 2 days in Bahrain, the question is no longer whether the SF26 is fast. The question is what Ferrari has found so early in the car's development really means. Because if anything has become clear, it is that this has not been a coincidence of a favorable track or a pre-season mirage. It has been a structural demonstration. On the second day, when Ferrari pushed beyond the basic programs and began to cross-reference simulation data with real performance, a pattern emerged that may change the balance of forces. The SF26 is not only stable when everything is in ideal conditions. It's consistent when the tire starts to drop, when the tank gets heavy, when the track temperature fluctuates. And that, in a long season, is worth more than an isolated pole position. What Hamilton has discovered is not a hidden tenth. It's a broader performance window. A car that does not collapse outside the exact adjustment point, that allows room for maneuver, that tolerates adjustments without losing general balance. In modern Formula One, where cars are often extremely sensitive, that tolerance is golden, because it gives strategic freedom. It allows you to play with fuel loads, manage tires without panic, and adapt to changing conditions without falling into a performance abyss. In addition, there is a psychological element that is impossible to ignore. Hamilton did not need weeks to understand the behavior of the SF26. Within 2 days I was already exploiting his traction and anticipating his response. That sends a very strong internal message. The car is not built around a single rigid way of driving. It is a car that allows adaptation, that responds to talent. And when a 7-time champion starts smiling in the cockpit so soon, it alters the perception of others. In the paddock, the first mental adjustment has already occurred. Rivals who expected Ferrari to be in a transition phase now know they may be looking at something more serious. Because if the SF26 already shows this efficiency in testing, with room for improvement and without aggressive updates yet, the potential for growth during the season can be considerable. Act 3 is not a celebration. It is a strategic warning. Ferrari has not shown an isolated blow. He has shown a solid foundation. And in Formula One, when the foundation is good, development can turn a competitive car into a dominant one. Bahrain Day 1 and Day 2 were not just days of testing. They were the moment when Lewis Hamilton identified that the SF26 has something that many teams take months to achieve: exploitable balance and real consistency. What we have seen on the first and second day of testing in Bahrain is not simply a competitive Ferrari. It is a structurally sound Ferrari. And that completely changes the context. Because we are not talking about a brilliant lap with little fuel or a made-up round to generate headlines. We are talking about consistency, controlled degradation, clean and progressive traction on one of the most demanding circuits on the calendar in that section. Lewis Hamilton didn't just adapt to the SF26. He detected something fundamental. The car has a wide and exploitable performance window. And when a driver of his experience finds that window so early, it means that the car does not depend on perfect conditions to perform. It means the foundation is good. And when the foundation is good, development becomes a real threat. The first day confirmed stability. The second revealed efficiency. And between them they left a conclusion that is beginning to worry the rest of the paddock. The SF26 does not need to force itself to be fast. The speed comes from balance. From the sum of small details that work in harmony. From a platform that converts load into traction and energy into acceleration without sudden peaks. If this is what Ferrari shows in the testing phase, with still room to evolve, the performance ceiling may be considerably higher than many projected. And most importantly, Hamilton has already found how to unlock it. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments.